All right, welcome to another episode of the You're in Charge podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Pasch, and today we're going to be talking about change. As you know, this is the podcast where we bring together strategies and tools and tactics to help you become the leader that you want to be. Whether you're brand new to leadership or you're an experienced manager or leader of teams, this is the place where we want to give you some tactical advice to help you improve. Well, at the recording time, it's just New Year's 2025, and before we dive in, I just want to thank you. This is the I believe it's the third year of the podcast, maybe heading into the fourth. And I just wanted to thank everyone who has participated, been a guest, who's given me advice behind the scenes, and more importantly to you for listening. You know, I think hundreds of thousands of downloads and views. That blows my mind. But when I get feedback from people that says, you really helped me, you've really made a difference, that makes it all worthwhile. So what's the topic at New Year's? What does everybody do at New Year's? Well, everybody in New Year's, they start making resolutions and they start thinking about things that they have to change for the better or move forward to have a better year. Maybe they had a phenomenal 2024 and they're looking to sustain. Maybe they didn't have a great 2024 and they're looking how to make some changes in their life, apply some new strategies to get the results that they want. So I want to focus on that because there's a lot of great potential when you're making those changes, but there's also a lot of hurdles. And I wanted to talk about 5 different things today that I have heard from clients that I work with, my coaching clients as well, what they're struggling with, and more importantly, even myself. I recently have been working with a business coach and talking with some people to just strategize. And I think it's really important that we are not embarrassed to say that we need help. We need, we can do better, but also we have to temper these pressures we put on ourselves when we start talking about, I'm going to do something every day. That I think is a very important lesson to learn, is that when you start going to extremes of I'm never or I'm always, there's always going to be some sort of disappointment when you don't achieve. For example, if you say, well, every day I'm going to work out, and you could work out for 15 days, but that 16th day, for some reason you don't. And now, instead of celebrating the fact that you did 15 days, you start beating yourself up that I didn't do it on that 16th day. So we're going to talk about a few things that are going to help you apply the changes, and more importantly, help your team when you're trying to implement change for your team, where the struggles are going to be, what you need to do as a leader to make sure that we get off on the right foot. So the first thing we want to talk about is understanding why you're making the change. I know that sounds very simple, but a lot of times change, or from a leadership perspective, something from outside, may trigger an emotion, and all of a sudden we have to change. And we come in and we say, we need to change this. We need to do better. We have to increase. But we're not really understanding why we're doing that in order to plan out what we're going to try and accomplish. So when we're sitting down and saying we have to change, I need you to walk through a couple basic steps. Why am I changing? What am I trying to change? What's going to happen? How long is this going to be that we're going to change? So I want to, again, focus on this idea of planning. So if you say we are going to institute change, let's say that last year we did not hit our sales goals. Sales is usually an easy thing for teams because a lot of times the people who are listening to this show are running teams. And they're saying, Glenn, how can I make my team better? We didn't hit our goals. So if we're going to change, we first have to understand, what is it we're changing? Just because you say you want to increase your sales goal, I want to go from 100 to 200, I want to go from 500 to 1,000 to 7. First, where did you come up with that number? So that's the first part of understanding the change. Why am I changing? I want to increase sales. Why? Because we need to generate more revenue. We're not maximizing our opportunities. We have to adjust more of our internal processes because we need to make more money, more profit. Whatever it is, you need to be crystal clear of why you're making this change. Because if you're not crystal clear, then anything else we're going to talk about after this is not going to make sense. So I want to go from 100 to 200. Okay. Well, now the next in that understanding why you're changing, you have to figure out, what is it I'm changing? Is it the execution of my process, assuming you have a written process? We've talked about that many times before. Part of where your success may be faltering is, I don't have a process. Everyone else is doing, all my team is doing what they think is right, and I'm just telling them we need more, and everybody's struggling because no one is following the correct path. So I'm going to make the assumption that you have a process. If you don't, pause, get your process in place. So the question really is it the process itself, or is it the execution of the process? I would start looking first at the execution of your process, because that's easier to see. I don't know if my process is not working unless I get everybody performing up to speed. So that's somewhere I'm going to work at, because again, setting an arbitrary number of, I want to go from 100 to 200 may not be possible. You could be executing 100% on your process. Your process could be fantastic. It could be, I need more opportunities. I have to do more marketing. So again, understanding why you want to change, but more importantly, that second piece, the other side of that coin is, what am I changing? Right? Is it the marketing? Is it the sales process? Is it the management? Is it the team? Or is it the metrics? And until you break everything down into those metrics to know what lever I have to push, you're just going to arbitrarily come in with a number, come up with something, or someone in your meeting is going to say, I'm going to increase by X, and everyone goes, sounds great, but you may end up failing, but not knowing why. So again, number one is, why do you want to change? What exactly are you going to change? And then that allows us to move into the second piece of this, which is, how do I communicate this new goal? So once you've said, I know exactly what we're going to work on, we are going to work on execution of the process. We have enough opportunities. We have a good process if we follow it, or I'm not sure yet, but we're going to work on this, the execution of the team. Now I have to go in and I have to, as a leader, communicate that. Be very clear. Now, in previous episodes, we've talked about communication and being very clear. I just want to have a very good reminder again, because this never changes year to year to year. Communicating with your team in a very clear manner so they understand what you're talking about. I've always said you should be able to stand up and do what you're asking them to do, right? I need you to make more calls is not clear. I need you to make 10 more calls a day is very clear. We know what 10 is. I need you to work harder. That doesn't make any sense to me. Stand up in front of me and work harder, right? So when you're communicating with your team, we need to be very clear, very specific about actions that are going to generate the results we want. You also need to understand the metrics. You have to have the metrics because those are very clear. Numbers are very clear. If we need to be setting, say, 40% appointments based on the number of leads that we have, so in this example, 100 leads, we need to set 40 appointments. That is our goal, and we're at 20. Well, we need to understand then what's happening. But we have to show that metric to the person and say, you're at 20, we want to be at 40. That's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on your setting of appointments. And then you can break down within that the steps to say, well, are you calling people at the right time? What is your email communication? What is your texting? Are you using video? Are you skipping days? Are you I need to be able to, but if I know that specifically, is what I'm going to be working on. And both myself as the leader and the person that I'm working with or the team that I'm working with understands what the focus is. They know what specific actions they have to follow. They know the metrics. They know the goal. Then we're able to achieve. because we're communicating the vision of where we need to go. We're communicating where we are currently. We're communicating the actions that we have to do. And more importantly, you're going to be also explaining to them what you're doing to help them. I'm going to be coaching you every day. I'm going to be listening to your calls. I'm going to be inspecting you. I'm going to sit down with you on a weekly basis, and we're going to go over. The more clear that you can be, the easier it is to generate change, because there is no wiggle room. There's no misunderstanding, because everyone is very clear on what you need to do. So again, first off, we want to make sure we know why we're changing, what we're changing, how we're going to change it. And then when we're communicating to our team, we're going to be very specific about what the goal is, where we're currently at, what actions we're going to be focusing on, and how you're going to be inspecting them. Which leads into our third point. By doing this, you're creating a culture on your team of improved performance, of adaptability, flexibility, that it's okay to make a mistake as long as I say, fall forward. We're trying. Falling backwards means I'm hesitant. I'm afraid to move forward. I'm afraid to make a mistake. We cannot get better unless we push ourselves, and part of pushing ourselves forward to achieve more, achieve better results, we're moving into uncharted territories. So we are going to fail. It's okay, but we take emotion out of it. And it's very important for you as a leader to take emotion out of it. Don't focus on the person, focus on the actions. It's easy to get frustrated, and then emotions and how you feel about an employee, or you feel about a partner, or you feel about a person, even how you feel about yourself. We start getting into those voices and we start judging, and those judgments are about emotions. If you've ever had that voice in your head where you say, oh, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, it's always followed by some judgmental conversation. You're better than this. You're not as strong as you thought you were. You're really disappointing. Versus, what about the actions? What did I do? What could I do better? What could I study and understand and structure and plan to move forward? That's what success is. Success is failing over and over and over again until you get better at that phase. And then you don't fail at that step, but by achieving that step, you are now pushing forward to another step, and you may fail there. So by creating a culture of adaptability, of coaching, of failure in a positive way, that's going to help your team be more open to achieve and to change. But you have to be that leader. You have to celebrate the wins. You have to talk about actions when we didn't achieve the results. We're not talking about people. We're not talking about effort. We're talking about actions. Separate conversation if somebody is repeatedly not doing what you need them to do. That's a separate conversation. But I have seen leaders stand in front of teams when they have been successful and everybody's great and everything is great, while part of the team did not achieve their goals. And on the flip side, when they don't achieve the goal, the broad brush comes out and we're all horrible, we're all failures. And half of the team who has achieved what they needed to do for the team are sitting there going, why are we getting yelled at? So again, be more laser focused, celebrate the wins, address the actions, not the people, in order to move forward. Now, the third, or I should say the fourth piece to all of this, is for you to understand that there is going to be pushback. Not a lot of people like change. If you've ever been familiar with the DISC profiles, the DISC profiles, where they're addressing your communication styles or your personality types, the largest group is called the safe and structured, probably close to 65%, 70%. So that means on your team, 7 out of 10 people don't like change. Now, you may be leading a team of salespeople, but even within that group, a lot of them don't like change. They don't want to walk into an opportunity where every day something new is happening. They want to follow their own structure. They want to achieve. So when you come in for change, you have to understand that even the best of us, when you're talking about change, That first month, everyone's excited because the potential is upside. It's all upside. It's going to be great. We're going to implement this and we're going to achieve. And because everyone's focus is on it in the first few weeks, it seems great. But eventually, you as a leader, that new change is just going to become part of the day-to-day, and you're off to focus on something else. And so what happens is when that focus goes away, it still is important for you as a leader to make sure that everyone understands this is the new expectation. And what happens is because your focus is over somewhere else, they're going to start doubting. Your team's going to start doubting because the buzz is wearing off of the excitement. This is just normal. This is every day. And this is where also the first time they hit resistance, or maybe it's not working as easily as they thought, they're going to want to default back to their old habits. It's up to you to understand. It's like a roller coaster. The first rise, we're up, it's all exciting, but then it's up and down and up and down. And it's up to you as a leader to make sure that while it may not be the top topic of conversation every day, it still has to be a topic of conversation throughout the week. We still have to address it. We still have to show its importance because you as a leader, whatever you're focusing on, they're going to focus on. So you still have to bring it up because they will fall back, and it's up to you to dive in and make sure you reinforce that so that they do start to come up and this new behavior becomes part of their everyday. So again, the fourth piece is focus on or be aware of the fact that there is going to be resistance to change. They're going to get distracted. They're going to think something else is more important. And you've spent all this time to put in this new strategy, these new tactics, and you need to really continue to work on them all the time. Now, lastly, this ties in with the fourth one, which is how do you continue this growth? How do you keep everything going up that we're installing without stopping addressing something potentially new or the next step? It's what I call stacking. I can't get to advanced tactics until we're at the base tactics. I can't get to 200 if I'm at 100 until I get to 125 and 150. So again, goes back to you setting realistic goals, knowing what my stair step is, knowing that within 6 months, within a year, I want to be at 200 or whatever time frame you think it is. But don't, if you just say, we're going to get to 200, go, all of those struggles, 110, 115, 120, everyone's going to keep thinking, well, we're not at 200, we're not at 200, we're not at 200. So break down your goals and create a culture of stair step. And this could be for the team. It could be for individuals, because the fact, if we could go from 100 to 125, that's a 25% increase. That's great. Keep them going. All right. We're constantly at 125. Our next goal is 150. Let's work towards that. We hit 150. Now we're 175. Now we're at 200. So it's not all or nothing. And that's where sometimes change is presented to a team of we're completely changing everything, and it's not broken down. And most people can't consume a large change to happen. They get nervous, they get worried, they may want to leave. It's up to you to make sure that, as we said, why are we changing? What piece of our process are we changing? How are we going to change it? We have to communicate what our goals are. And again, that was in the beginning, our vision, but we have to make sure as we wrap all of this up is that we're communicating in a way that these goals are achievable. This change is possible, and the change is good. So make sure you're celebrating it. We're constantly working towards change. Now, change again isn't just we're blowing everything up. Change is refinement. Change is making ourselves better, because if we can become more efficient at what we're doing, that change, because now what used to take us 4 hours takes 2 hours. Now we have more time to be able to add more, to do more, to celebrate more. So again, as you move into 2025, be kind to yourself, be kind to your team. Doesn't mean you're not going to push them, push yourself. That's not to say that you're not going to demand excellence, but you have to show them. You have to show them the path. You're not, again, one of the big resolutions every year is people are going to lose weight. You are not losing 20 pounds in a couple days. You didn't gain 20 pounds in a couple days. So it's going to take time if you want to keep it off. You could do something drastic for a month, but that's not long term. It's not going to stick. You will gain that weight back and do more. Same thing. You could change something and focus on it. And then all of a sudden we go focus on something else and we forget about that this is important. And then all of a sudden you'll hear yourself say, oh, we used to do that. Oh, yeah. But if I just become a culture of every 30 days, something new, every 30 days, something new, your team is going to leave because it is unstable. No one wants to work in that environment. All right. So I hope you found that helpful. I really do. I hope you apply this. I'm looking forward to your feedback. So again, as we wrap up, I want to thank you for your attention. I know there's a lot of places out there where you can consume content, but the fact that you spend some time with me means the world to me. So don't forget to click subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification button as well so that you're notified. We put out episodes every single week. Please put your comments in. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What are your challenges? In the future, we're going to do a Q&A episode where maybe we'll answer some of your questions. And again, if there's any topic that you want to hear us talk about, throw into the comments and maybe your question will get mentioned in a future episode. Again, this is available everywhere on your podcast. Please make sure you review. And more importantly, please share this out. I'm sure there's someone in your network that could benefit from this conversation as well. So as we say every single episode, leadership is not just the title that you have, but leadership is making a difference for yourself, for your family, for your team, and your community at large. So I look forward to seeing you next week and keep moving forward.